Well, hello, and welcome to the show. Happy Friday. How's your week going? I can't believe, tomorrow's the I don't know, 2023 is just flying by. We fortunately have a weekend to look forward to, but before we get there, of course, wanted to welcome you to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're tuning in live or catching me on replay, I am so grateful to have you with me. And by the way, I got to mention we are also live today on Instagram. So those of my friends on Instagram, hello. It's wonderful to be joining you. I am live. So come in, say hello. Let's dive right into today's live level up discussion.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. Wow, I see so many of you joining us live today. It is a treat to be here with you. A big hello. I'm seeing Neil. I see Robert. I see Joshua, Sandra, Peter. Wow, so many friends. Thank you so much for being here today. Hello, my friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host and award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member. Yeah, we're streaming here live, and now we're including Instagram. So what a treat. Now, as you know, the market hasn't quite closed yet, but let me tell you where we're at currently. The Dow is currently down 55 points. NASDAQ is in the positive, up 33 points, and the S&P 500 is unfortunately down today. So sort of a mixed day. Now, some of the news that came out recently is actually pretty positive. In fact, the Fed's recent economic projections have indicated a pretty significant drop in interest rates. Now, this is good news because it could mean that we're up for a soft landing, leading to now the discussion of 3 rate cuts for next year. This could mean for those of you who've been on the sidelines waiting to refinance or to purchase a new property, that could be good news. And if you're sitting on quite a bit of credit card debt or student debt, hopefully that's good news for you as well. This is definitely words in the positive direction, some positive implications for many different sectors. In fact, lower rates we talked about could lower reducing mortgage prices, which could potentially lead to an improvement in the real estate market as well. So, also talking about these reduced lending rates, which could also help boost corporate profits, and that could make even more improvement in the stock market, which could then improve things for you if you're an investor. In fact, we're seeing now some positivity in the financial markets. We've seen that all through November, and certainly much of this week we've been seeing positive numbers. Today, kind of an iffy day, but the day's not over. The market's not over. We still have more than 45 minutes left before the market closes, so maybe things will turn around. But all ears are on the term of economic soft landing. And if you think that that has sort of a positive connotation, you're absolutely right. In fact, the Federal Reserve seems to be making progress towards achieving this soft landing, which would be really positive if you're an investor. And they're saying that this outcome, although is considered unlikely in just 6 months ago, now they're saying things are looking a little bit better. In fact, inflation has come down quite significantly, dropping from its peak of 9.1% in 2022 to, believe it or not, 3.1% on a yearly basis. While economic growth has continued to be solid here in the United States, and the job markets are very healthy. In fact, I saw an article just earlier today on LinkedIn talking about how college students now have to now apply for different internships in industries such as finance and technology, like 18 months before they're even going to graduate, if even more than that. It's crazy. So now a lot of competition for those ideal or top positions, and that's certainly something that we're seeing. So the job market isn't as good as it was previously, and that's actually great news for inflation. All right. I've got some really fun stories to share with you today. But before I jump in, I want to have you come in, say hello. I see many of you joining, and tell me how your day's going. What are some things that are on your radar? And are you ready for the holidays? Many of you are busy as can be. We're juggling work. We're juggling, I know my kids are going through finals right now too, which is crazy. Busy couldn't even start to explain what many of you are going through. So I want to hear from you and see how you're doing. One area that I want to share with you is a big story now is talking about AI. Now, you've been hearing about AI left and right. And if you're like me, you're like, is there another story about AI? Well, not completely. They're talking about, will AI be bad for your wallet? And there's been some discussions in the from the area of our federal regulators, including the Financial Stability and Oversight Council, the FSOC. They're talking about giving us warnings about the risks that AI or artificial intelligence can have to our US financial system, and not just US, but globally. They're saying that, this first formal classification of AI is definitely something that is vulnerable. In fact, the FSOC, which is led by the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she's saying that, while AI, of course, has such huge potential to make our lives better and faster and more efficient, but in terms of the financial services industry, yeah, it could make things faster, but we really be mindful about supervision to manage so many risks as it pertains to you and my and everybody else's money. So regulators are very honed in on something called cybersecurity risks and compliance challenges, privacy issues. So I'm curious to see how you feel about that. Do you use ChatGPT? I know I certainly do, but this generative, generative AI models, these are really popular things that we all use on a day-to-day basis. But how is that going to impact what we do with our money? In fact, I've been hearing I actually met with a company that is really touting that they're using AI in their financial models, and they're saying they can pull data from multiple companies and their retirement plans, and that they can quickly take this information and help you spam a bunch of people at once. I don't think this is a good thing. And I called them out on. I said, isn't that spam? And they're like, no, it's not spam. I'm like, but you're sending people and you're blasting your information and pulling information that, you know, anyway, my question to you is, how do you feel about the use of AI as it pertains to your financial well-being, your banking, maybe how you're investing? What do you think about that? I'm curious to see how you feel about that. So Kayla, it is wonderful to see you. I see you joining us on Twitter. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, I'm going to get to that story. Really great question. And that's actually one of the stories that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Now, President Joe Biden, of course, and regulators are acknowledging the potential of AI and just the importance of addressing its errors and biases and understanding what this means for many tech companies and the need for developing and the need of this in the financial sector and keeping costs low, right? And making things more efficient. And most importantly, getting more people like you and I investing, saving, and really playing a more productive role in how we manage our finances. So we'll see how this story unfolds. But I definitely think it's something, as someone who banks, as someone who invests, we want to pay attention to trends and decide on, what platforms and how quickly we want to adopt some of these AI features and how we manage our money as well. Okay, next story. And this is the one Kayla was waiting on. And this is the big one. So Meta's Threads, many of you know Threads. Threads is sort of like Facebook, Meta's version of Twitter, is getting even bigger because now they have just been given the green light in the EU. Now, this is, of course, Twitter's competitor. They've expanded availability to the European Union, which now is going to increase a whopping 448 million citizens will now have access to this. Now, as you know, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, previously known as Facebook, right? This is their parent company now. They have announced expansion of Threads. Now it's going to allow EU users to access this service. Now, I know some of you actually are joining me from the EU. I know Vicky is joining us from I believe, I think, yeah, in England, talking about whether or not this is something that's going to impact her and impact many, many citizens. Now, this is going to include over 100 countries, including the UK. And this will start, of course, so it's becoming available to everybody. Now, EU residents were originally when it was launched out in July, they were actually weren't able to use it because even through VPNs, they just didn't have access to it. But now with the EU launch, Meta is going to offer users the region in this region the ability to not only browse threads without requiring you to have a profile, but also posting, and you're going to be able to interact with content. Now, that of course is going to require you to have an Instagram account. But for those of you who haven't jumped on threads completely yet, here in the United States, it was very seamless. I set it up in seconds because you didn't actually have to create a brand new username and all that. Essentially, if you had an Instagram account, that would just migrate over. So on Threads and Instagram, I'm at winniesun.com. That is me. If you're on there, would love to connect with you there. But this expansion comes after Meta, of course, faced a lot of delays due to the Digital Markets Act, the DMA, which is a legislation which is designed to regulate big tech and unfair competition. And this was required as of March 2024. But yeah, so we'll see how this goes. But it's really exciting to see that Threads is picking up speed because there have been a lot of talk about people on Twitter not happy with the new experience of X and some of the changes that Elon Musk has done to the platform. And a lot of people were starting to say, like, what other platform could replace my activities that I used to do on Twitter? And so, we've heard of Jack Dorsey creating his own version, a competitor there. But because of the volume of users on Instagram, Threads seemed like the strongest potential to sort of go against Twitter. So I'm curious to see, for those of you who are joining me live, if you have a Threads account or if you are on Instagram, go ahead and drop your handle right in the comments here. Okay, I'm going to try and connect with you on there, and if you do follow me, I'll try to follow you back. But I'm curious to see how many of you are on Instagram and how many of you are on Threads. And if you're following me on Instagram, hello, welcome. Today is actually my first live stream on Instagram. So I feel like we're on to something special today. We're doing something just together. Really cool. All right. So next story though that I want to share with you, and this is also a pretty interesting one, I think, is coming from the one and only Jeff Bezos. Well, Jeff Bezos, you know him well as, Amazon's founder and brainchild there. And now you probably know that he's like jet setting all over the world. He has a new fiance. He's like living his best life. Well, Jeff Bezos now has something to share with all of us because he is envisioning that not in the not too distant future, but somewhat distant future, that trillions of human beings, just like me and you, will be inhabiting, get this, the solar system. Yeah. He's emphasizing the need for massive space stations rather than planetary surfaces for mass human colonization. People, as are more healthy. Okay, I'll preface this. I get that, we're still in a pandemic, but people, there's a lot of new medical developments. So the projection is people are going to live longer, there's going to be more people, and therefore where are they going to all go? Because we do know they may not all fit on Earth, Mother Earth, very soon. So Jeff Bezos believes that space stations are the key to this vision, as he's saying that planetary surfaces are just too small. And so in order to support such a large population, that there needs to be the other options. And get this, we might be all, I mean, maybe not us, but maybe the descendants of us will be living and sustaining life on these cylindrical space stations, similar to Gerald Kitchen O'Neill's concepts, citing advantages to, like, you can control gravity and like strategic placement of where you put these entities. How do you feel like about that, right? Thank you, Kayla, by the way, for sharing. I see Kayla sharing her Threads and Instagram handle. It's great to have. And CrossFit Fighter, thank you so much for doing that as well. Let me know what you think. How do you think about living in a cylindrical, Yeah. I see Lena Lee's comment from Instagram that AI can break data encryption. Yeah, that is a true concern, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, really good point. It's a little scary. I know. AI is scary, but it's exciting at the same time because just think about like a year it's been since some of the newer developments have sort of gone mainstream and how many things it sort of streamlined and made faster already. But I'm curious to see about this because as you know, Elon Musk and his sort of space colonization rival, he's like really talking like Musk is all about Mars, right? You've heard about that. He thinks that we're going to live on Mars and he has goals of having human settlements on that red planet. And SpaceX has also had lunar missions into these plans, primary focus on the colonization of Mars. Now, Bezos, on the other hand, is really targeting the moon with these initiatives like the Blue Moon Lunar. So, moon, Mars, where do you want to live? You know, and they're saying that this is going to be necessary to be able to continue to preserve Earth because of all the changes that have occurred here on our planet, right? All right. Now, speaking of Elon Musk, I want to share with you my next story. Now, we talk about Elon on this show quite a bit, because he's so busy. He does like all these different things. But get this, what do you know about Elon Elementary School? Yep, Elon Elementary School, because Elon Musk and his associates are planning to establish a brand new primary and secondary school in Austin, Texas. Now, he's already made an initial donation of nearly $100 million. In fact, the foundation, as he calls it, as named in his like tax exempt status application, I guess it's a nonprofit to the IRS, is going to be focusing on STEM subjects and other topics, sort of more of like project based learning. So STEM focused elementary school. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but I actually did a lot of research on this prior because, as you know, I have 3 kids. I was looking at different options for my kids in terms of education. And he actually has one of these sort of school setups here in Southern California. But this new school is intending to enroll about 50 kids initially in Austin, and they plan to, of course, expand this and eventually even have a university dedicated to education at what he calls the highest levels. So this initiative is going to align with Elon's interest in education, and of course, now that he is living in Austin, Texas himself when he left California. So, of course, many people have talked about Elon Musk. If you've been on Twitter, you know that people are saying that he's promoted conspiracy theories and, fringe figures, and that this new school project now represents his commitment to education. But what does that all mean? Like, what type of education? Is it going to be like mainstream, or is it going to have what is it going to do? But they're saying that his vision, of course, is that he's going to be fostering academic and scientific potential, which is exciting because let's be honest, right? Regardless of how you feel about Elon, we need to give some credit, and that look at how far he's taken um, solar energy, electric vehicles, and of course, space travel, and a lot of things. So, the foundation is aiming to fund these operations through donations and, of course, tuition fees. So, this will be something that families will have to pay for. They say they're going to offer some scholarships to support students who can't afford to attend if they had to pay. But yeah, Elon Elementary School. I'm calling it Elon Elementary. I don't know what the name is going to be, but a school is coming in Austin, Texas, because Elon has made quite a big investment there. Yes, I see comments in there. I see a lot of comments coming. So CrossX Fighter is saying, I'm not really sure about Elon's school setups. I think we'll just have to follow and see how this takes off. Hopefully it'll be faster than the Cybertruck. Just saying. But another thing that I want to share with you today is from Coca-Cola. Now, I know it's the holidays, and I know many people, I've been seeing shopping carts coming out of different supermarkets, and I see actually a lot of soda. But did you know that Coca-Cola just recently had a recall? Yes, Coca-Cola is issuing a recall for several of its popular sodas. This includes Diet Coke, their Sprite product, and some other sodas as well, due to, get this, the presence of a potential foreign material. Now, I don't know what this potential foreign material is in these sodas, and they didn't actually share this, but the recall was initiated last month and affects about 2,000 cases of these sodas. Now, the specific nature of the foreign material hasn't been disclosed, but the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, does advise consumers to check their soda supply and dispose of any products that may be part of this recall. Now, the recall does apply to 417 cases of Diet Coke and cases of, over 1,500, over 1,500 cases of Sprite. So it looks like it affected more Sprite than some of the other sodas. But whatever you do, you definitely want to check this out. They're saying that these recall sodas were distributed specifically to the states of Alabama, Florida. Okay, Cross-X Fighter, I know you're joining us from Florida. So Florida and Mississippi. And they were sold in 12-pack, 12-ounce cans. So if you have soda that you purchased, you might want to check it. Details of this is going to be available online. Of course, you can Google it, but they will tell you. And the FDA is classifying this recall as a Class 2 recall, which indicates that the use or exposure to the affected product may cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences. So you probably want to check into this, but just so you know. All right. So that is it for our show for Friday. But let me close off, let you know how the market is doing as we've been going live here. The Dow's currently down 24 points. NASDAQ in positive territory, still at up 48 points. The S&P 500 is currently down 5 points. But a huge thank you for all of you for joining us. So many friends joining us today, for being on the show with me, joining us live, for your comments. Really, really appreciate it. And of course, if you're watching me on the replay, or you just have other comments that you didn't get to share while we were going live, go ahead and just drop them in. Always appreciate that. Really grateful for you being here and supporting Level Up. If you found this video helpful, of course, do me a favor and hit that like button and hit subscribe. That'd be really helpful. And you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun when you tune in on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And of course, if you share this show online on social, please tag me at Winnie Sun so I can properly thank you on a future episode. And for even more content, check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts and the LinkedIn Podcast Network. With that, I hope you have a beautiful weekend. I look forward to seeing you again next week, because I will be back next week. And for those of you who are missing my co-host, Greg Nibbler, on In the Loop, Greg and I will be back with you next Friday as well. Take care, stay well, have a beautiful weekend, and happy holidays. Take care now.